Hello everyone, welcome. As you can see, I'm in the car again. So I had intended to do this outside, as you can see up there, where I would often do my videos. But unfortunately it's quite windy and the sound was terrible, so I just thought I'd move inside. It'd make it a lot easier so you could actually hear what I was saying. If you actually want to hear what I'm saying, you may not care. But if you're watching this, I hope you do care. If you've got this far, 30 seconds, you must care. So there's been quite a lot going on, hasn't there, in rally world. We had Sardinia last weekend, so I'll get to that, obviously. We've got Ypres coming up in a few weeks, and also we had a few interesting little stories going on. The first of those was the confirmation of Monza being added to the calendar. I can't say that I'm surprised. I think the promoter was always going to look to have as many events as possible. Not necessarily because we need the event, but I think we need contingency in case we lose events. That being said, Yves Maton has come out this week and said that he is happy to crown a champion regardless, even if things end as they are. That's good, and I think the right decision, because I think the events that we've had are enough to constitute a world championship, in my view. If we go back 25 odd years, 30 years, 6 events was pretty normal. So I don't think anyone can have any complaints about that, in my view. So if it comes to it, if we lose Ypres and Monza, depending on the unending COVID situation, we will have a champion. Obviously that champion would be Elfyn Evans as things stand, but we'll see what happens, won't we? I thought the timing of that news was a little bit off. The teams had said that they wanted confirmation as soon as possible, understandably so. So going into Sardinia, we thought it was possible that Elfyn Evans could be crowned champion at the rally. However, after the rally started, we found out that that wasn't going to be the case. And there we went. So that was interesting, added a slight twist to things. There was a few other little stories, wasn't there? Obviously, I don't want to focus too much on the result. You all know who won and who didn't, so I don't want to just talk about that too much. Besides, my predictions were woeful, so let's not get dragged down too much with that. One positive story that I enjoyed was Petter Solberg driving the Pirelli test car. Its usual pilot, Andreas Mikkelsen, was in the co-driver's seat, which I thought was quite interesting. I actually thought it was a shame, personally, that they didn't do the whole rally. I actually think it would have been brilliant if they'd done the whole event. I understand that Pirelli were just there to make a bit of noise about the new tyres and the deal for next year, but I think those two doing the whole event would have been really good. It was a bit of a shame, I thought, but it was a good news story. It looked like they were having a lot of fun. Petter anyway, perhaps Andreas not as much. I don't blame him. I would be a hopeless co-driver. Have I navigated on anything in my life? A couple of really club money, treasure hunts basically, and I wasn't very good at it. It's not my forte. Anyway, so that was a good news story. I enjoyed that. There was a little bit of needle going on, wasn't there? There's still a little bit of needle going on in the world of the WRC at the moment. Guest drivers. Let's talk about guest drivers, shall we? A certain Frenchman who's won quite a few world championships had a little bit of a moan over the weekend about running order and the fact that guest drivers, as he put it, have an advantage. So if you don't do a complete program when you start an event, you end up nearer the back. So on the first day, you have an advantageous road position. Now, I do get a bit fed up of Ojo whining about this, to be honest with you, because he has won so many events whilst he's had to clean the road. I don't think he can complain too much because he can drive around it. But at the same time, I do understand it in a way. It must be frustrating at times, but really, come on, he should know by now. And the disadvantage for someone like Danny Sordo is, they don't drive the car. They're not in the car every week. They're not they're not doing anything like the mileage that someone like Seb is doing. So they have an advantage in road position on gravel events, but when it comes to their overall their overall position, I would say they remain at a disadvantage. But, they made up and it added a bit of drama. And I think, to be honest, we need that drama. If we left it to the teams, things would be so slick and everything would be so perfect from a PR perspective that we'd never get anything interesting. So I enjoy a bit of that. Actually, Ogier continued a little bit of tension creation by having a little question about the situation regarding Ypres. So Alain Panas, who is involved in the Hyundai team, is also involved in the Ypres rally. I mean, Ogier hasn't said anything particularly, but has suggested that he could take information and give it to the Hyundai team in terms of road conditions. He's not going to do that, is he? Come on. He's a professional guy. He's not going to do that. But, again, it adds a bit of drama, doesn't it? I think we need a bit of excitement. So, there's lots of little stories. You may have seen some pictures on social media of Ogier and Tanak travelling together after the rally. So I thought there were some nice little things floating around in terms of Italy. The event itself, as I say, my predictions were rubbish. I think the big talking point was obviously Hyundai's position. Sordo was allowed to keep the win. I said before the rally that he wouldn't be allowed to keep the win, but he was. I maintain that he wouldn't have been allowed to keep the win had things not panned out as they did on the last day. He didn't have the best last day, but he had built a significant cushion so that he could afford to not be, to take it fairly easy. And he wasn't that fast on the final day, and he ended up in a position where if he had taken a penalty, if he checked in late at the final time control and taken a 10-second penalty, which would have been the minimum, that would have dropped him to third place. And Hyundai didn't want that. They're there for the Manufacturers' Championship, so to be first and third instead of first and second would have been a bad decision in their aim of winning the World Championship. So he kept the win. I'm glad he kept the win. I think he deserved it. He did an amazing job, drove brilliantly. He didn't suffer like Suninen did on the second day. Suninen was in the fight for the win at the beginning of the rally. Again, good road position like Sordo had, but couldn't keep the pace. The Fiesta just wasn't there. Whereas Sordo managed to stay. He got to the front and he stayed there. So that was really good. I'm really pleased for him, but I don't think he would have been allowed to keep that win had it not been for the time deficit after the power stage. But it's nice, isn't it, for him to win that rally twice in a row. He's doing a brilliant job, isn't he, for Hyundai? He's doing exactly what they want him to do. He just consistently gets into the car and scores good points, and that's exactly what they need from their third driver. What his program will look like next year, who knows? Obviously, I don't think we're going to see Loeb in the car again. I don't think Sordo's going to do a full program again, so my guess would be that we'll see Breen in the car more regularly. That could be a full program and Sordo leaves, but I think they will probably quite like having him as an option. But he did well, and I think Hyundai generally did well. Neuville was very quick. I predicted he would win. He did not, but he could have done, and he didn't start brilliantly, but he really came into it. And the battle for second between him and Ogier was phenomenally good. It was just what we want to see from the WRC, wasn't it? So it was a really good rally for Hyundai. They've overtaken Toyota in the manufacturers. They've given Neuville an outside chance of the title, obviously helped by the addition of Monza, which throws things up in the air a bit. The only blot on the Hyundai copybook was Tanak, who had some problems and just never really got there until the power stage, of course, where he set a good time. But not a good rally, and in my view, and I think everyone's view, that is game over for his championship now. He's not going to be able to win. He would require the others to have massive drama. And I just don't think that's going to happen to all of them, is it? It's, one or two, might have it, but they're not all going to have it. So I think he will now have to perform a supporting role for the Manufacturers' Championship and for Neuville to have a shot at the Drivers' Championship. So that's very interesting. Toyota, again, were good. That's not really a surprise. I don't think anyone should be surprised by that. Ogier, again, as I said, had a very good battle with Neuville, despite his reservations about running order. Did a good job. I don't think he could quite match Neuville at the end. Neuville has beaten him on that stage before, so I think he did what he could. He said he did what he could, and he's kept himself in the game, hasn't he? He's continued to put pressure on Elfyn Evans, who, in my view, did exactly what was needed. Evans went to that rally. He didn't need to win. He doesn't need to win any of the remaining events. He just needs to keep scoring points. And he did that, He wasn't the quickest. He finished about where I expected him to finish. And it's just about consistency. You win championships by being consistent, as Ogier and numerous others have proven over the years, and he just has to keep plugging away. I think he now has a really significant or notable advantage as we go into the next round at Ypres, because he's a good tarmac driver while he doesn't have a lot of experience of the event, and road position, that topic again, is going to really suit him in Belgium, because he's going to be first on the road. The weather could be wet. It's fairly likely to be wet, and even if it isn't raining, the ground will probably be soft, and as he cuts, he will drag mud onto the road, and that will hurt the guys behind him. It's actually interesting. Over the weekend, we had a warm-up event, the South Belgian Rally over the weekend, which Craig Breen did in the Hyundai. He will be doing Ypres as well, so it was a bit of a test event for him. He won the event, but has come out and said afterwards that it was very difficult. The conditions were horrendous. It peed it down. It's a bit of a strange expression for foreign viewers, perhaps, but it did. I didn't want to say the other one. But the weather was horrendous. Obviously, he did a good job and won the rally. He won the main Ypres rally last year. So he should be in a good position to do well, though obviously he will have to support Manufacturer at points and Neuville to some extent. But he did a good job, and he will be there or thereabouts. But as I say, Evans, in my view, will have an advantage going into that rally. He is in a very strong position, 14 points clear. If he can finish in the top 3, if he can win, which I definitely think is a possibility, if he wins in Belgium, then I think he's champion. But unless something goes awfully wrong, but yeah, I think he holds all the cards right now, and deservedly so. He's done an amazing job. Even if we call time on the championship now, he has done an amazing job. So I think there's a lot to look forward to. I'm still a little bit reluctant about Monza, but at least we've got some stages outside of the circuit, which I think was necessary. So there's a lot to look forward to. The next couple of weeks are going to be a bit quiet in WRC terms, as we have to wait until November for Ypres. So I'm going to have to talk about some other things, I'm afraid. Sorry, not sorry. So I'll have to wait a little while for the next event. But I'm sure there'll be some stories. I'm sure there'll be some developments, and I'm sure I'll find some things to talk about. So 2 rallies left, touch wood, and my vote still goes for Elfyn Evans for champion. I think it's his to lose, and I think the way he's driving and the consistency he's showing, it's his to lose. So there we are. That's this week's video. Please comment below if you disagree with anything I've said, which you might well. I wouldn't be surprised. And thanks for watching, and I will catch you all again very soon for the next one.